Good evening. Welcome to the Trails Committee, October 30th, 2025, Southborough Trails Committee. We're going to call the meeting to order at 7:35. We'll do a roll call vote. Let me know that you're here when I call your name. Will Warren. You're on mute, Will.
Sorry, the Zoom quit unexpectedly on me and then restarted unexpectedly
I
and
thought you were waiting for the clickers.
muted me. No,
Okay, so you were saying you are here.
I am here.
Great. And Satyendra Sharma.
Yeah.
Kat McKee here. Great. Welcome all. Okay, so tonight we're just going to be going through the a few things on our Peninsula Trail projects and do a recap. It may be a short meeting. And then we'll have a follow-up meeting shortly after this to square up a few other things. I did not have an opportunity to, so the meeting minutes, we are not going to go over them tonight. I'll send them out. Sati, I had noticed that when they uploaded one of our meetings that you were absent for, that I was going to cover and take minutes, they uploaded the wrong meeting under our name. So I didn't have the opportunity to review it in advance of this meeting, but they've now corrected it. So we'll go back and get that done for the next meeting.
Okay.
And we'll get our minutes approved at that point.
So what are pendings? 10-7 minutes.
It's a good question. And the best way for me to answer that is to go to our
I think 10-2 and 10-7 both.
website. Have you been there recently to double check? Yeah, 10-2, 10-7. You're right.
Okay.
Yep. And so when we meet next, we'll do 10-2, 10-7, and 10-30.
Okay.
And I'll get whatever one you were missing, I'll do that one. And you already did one of them, and you'll do this one too. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so next up, signage. So we want to, what I've done is, and don't worry, Will, there's going to be time for me to share text with you ahead of time for approval. So this is just going through proof of concept. I'd like to get something to the printer so that they can kind of start working a mock-up, and then we'll be working on text. But I wanted to have like some draft text that we can just start with, and they can just plug and play and replace it as needed. So there'll be adequate time, Will, to go over in a methodical way, ensure the text is correct and in the way that we want to, and not under duress or in a short order. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Okay. So this is phase one. We're talking signage, closing out the Mass Trails grant. I'm going to share screens. Okay, great. So we have already talked about our, I'll make this bigger so we can see it. Hold on. You may recall this graphic. It's just rough. It's not meant to be pretty. It's just a locator graphic of where we're putting things on the trail. So I'm sorry, I'm not trying to move around. I just can't get the right size to include all of it. Okay, so for orientation purposes, this is the Peninsula Trail. This is the Peninsula. This is Route 30, and this is Central Street. So this is the west side of the trail. This is the east side of the trail. This is near Framingham, and this is off into Southborough. Okay, so at the very beginning of Route 30 and our trail, we have the original parking and gate. Then you go up the hill a little bit, you have our ADA and regular parking and a gate at that location. We're going to put a kiosk at that location. Okay. And so do you want me to show you a picture of what that looks like? So you can visualize where it will be? Because I don't have a picture of the,
This is on the extreme left in your diagram, right? Left-hand corner.
it's at the far bottom right here.
Yeah.
Would you see my cursor
right.
moving around?
I see your cursor.
Okay, great. Let me do a quick search so I can pull this up. Hold on.
So I think we're going to have a kiosk or a sign at every one of these locations.
when you say every one of these locations,
All the
yes,
The-
there'll be something at every one of these little locations.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, why am I not switching my photos? All right, hang on. I was last there with Will, no, with what's his, Tom, and we were placing a bench. I'm trying to orient myself to where I would have taken the picture. Okay, great. There it goes. Okay. All right. So I just moved it to the screen. Can you see a picture now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So on the left-hand side is our ADA parking. Okay.
Right.
And then on the right side is the regular parking. And
This is looking out onto 30, I guess, right?
actually this is heading into the trail. So
Oh, it is.
30's behind us in this picture.
So
Yeah.
the trail, the 30 is behind us. Okay, fine.
Okay, and so I don't have the exact picture, but where my cursor is, so the gate is open right now, so you can't see the gate, but it's there. If you can, there we go. Look a little closer. You see the gate here? There is a little path right here, right? This is where, for example, if you're in a wheelchair, you get out of your car and you roll, so the gate's closed, and this sidewalk gets you around the gate. Okay. So
What did we use to stabilize the soil in the parking there?
I love your questions, Will. I have no clue. I mean, we had, first of all,
But it is stabilized, right?
of course it's stabilized. We had DPW do the initial parking area. They put in gravel, they, graded it appropriately and on both sides. And then second to that, we had an engineering firm, Beals and Thomas, come in and do engineering plans for the paving. So when the paving company came in, they also made sure that the ground was in good shape to do the paving, and they do obviously all the measurements and to ensure that it meets ADA requirement and slope requirements and such. So I'm pretty sure everything's good underneath there. Is there a particular reason why you asked the question? Will, are you there? Or are you frozen? Oh, I think he's frozen. So he was having some technical difficulties. We need him back because he's quorum. Let me text him and see if he can unfreeze himself.
Yeah, he just vanished. So
Okay, he's coming back. All right.
he'll be coming back.
We'll give him a second. Come back. So I can restate this when Will comes in, but we're essentially, if thinking about the easiest access for the person who would have the hardest time, so we're talking about putting the kiosk in this area, Sati.
Mm.
So if someone were in a wheelchair, for example, they roll over to get to the trail, but they can pit stop and do a viewing of the kiosk,
Mhm.
which should be designed with ADA specs in mind. So that might mean it's a little shorter for people who are, in a chair, that kind of thing.
So it will be before the gate, right?
So before or after the gate, I'm not sure. So the gate's going to swing around, right?
Okay.
Right. It will swing around here, so it won't be over there anymore. So I don't have a great image of it to say exactly, is it going to go here? Is it going to go back here? It's going to go where it makes sense. And so we'll have to do a little site visit to get that exact.
Yeah, and that's the other thing would be that we need to keep the site clean of the bush and everything.
Yeah, you can see this needs to
Yeah.
be weeded even
Yeah, and it's
now
the
because it's
Japanese knotweed. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Is he coming back? I crashed. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, keep going. I can't
Mhm.
technically keep going because of we lost quorum.
Yeah.
So but we can talk a little bit about it. And so yeah, I think
So is there any rule for quorum that, if the person is like off for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or I mean 40% of the time, 30% of the time, I mean, is that something we need to
I'm
find?
pretty sure I have Jim in my head saying, you better not speak one word when you don't have quorum. So
Okay.
yeah, we'll give it
Yeah.
a minute.
Yeah, we can criticize him.
One thing I'm curious about, Sati, is and I don't know, have you ever been on this trail in the winter necessarily, gone for a walk down here?
Yes, I have gone.
Do you know, do they plow it?
It
Because
was not that time. I mean, winter means if I have ever gone on.
like when
I
the
mean, after
snow.
a snow, no, I have not
Yeah,
seen.
because I mean, it seems to me like they would plow it because of their trucks that would need access to
Mhm.
infrastructure, Um, but I don't know. And I think that matters in the way that we advertise, uses, because if, for example, they don't plow it, then it means parking is limited in the winter, right? And
That's
I
a
don't
good point.
know if we could, for example, we've asked DPW before and we need to re-ask again. Like, I think they plow Breakneck Hill, and we've asked them if they wouldn't mind running the plow by the cemetery parking area or the Route 30 Northborough triangle right across from Beals Preserve area, that little kiosk, if they could just run a plow through there from time to time when it snows. And so I think we could check in with them this winter to see if they will continue to do that. And I can check with DCR and MWA just to see what they do for plowing here. Because we still, yeah, because it would be a shame if this was only really open to, accessibility to
Yeah.
summer, spring, and fall. Hey, Will, you're back. And you are on mute, which is fine. But for the record, Will is
Yeah,
back.
understood. Yeah, it looks nice pictures.
Okay. So what we were talking about, Will, which I'm reiterating because anything Sati and I said wasn't official now that you were not here because you're quorum, or we need 3, is that the kiosk would go back here, somewhere in here, right? So where you would get out of your car in a wheelchair, for example, and you would take this little sidewalk, and the kiosk would be appropriately placed so that that viewer, trail user could view the kiosk.
And this will be a kiosk that they can roll up to, even though they're in a wheelchair.
Yeah. So it needs to, yeah. So it will have ADA compliance from that
Okay,
perspective. Okay.
looks good.
So that's what it will look like there. And then the sign itself, the first sign that we've talked about. So I'm gonna bring it over the document we were just working in. Is this
Yep.
yeah. Can you see the bubbles now again? Back to
Yep.
Word. Okay, so that was the kiosk number 1. So then where Tom and I put the bench, I've been on a few rail trails recently, and there's usually a bench near a sign. So having the sign kind of near where we put the bench might be a good idea. People can rest, they can not rest and read, but they can just, do the same thing. It's just like a spot to stop. So the first sign we talked about being the history of the people. That is going to be the native people to the colonials to the people who built the dam feature. So let me just kind of show you. I did take some pictures of the where we put the bench, which was just further up on this trail. For some reason, there's this little call out. I don't know how to make that go away. Oh, that would be how I do that. Hold on a second. Okay, this is Tom enjoying the bench.
Mhm.
Yeah. So down the road a little bit, and
Yeah,
this little spot was kind of carved out, and so he's yeah.
So that bench is anchored in.
Not yet. I didn't anchor it in yet. We just kind of set it there to kind of get a feel for it. So
Okay.
as you can see, it's kind of clear on the side. We set it far enough back so if they are plowing it, it's not going to get plowed itself. This is the ADA bench. It's very heavy. It's
Mhm.
heavier than the other ones. It has arms. And so because it's so heavy, we didn't immediately anchor it. And because we wanted just to make sure the placement works for everybody. So giving it some time to kind of sit with itself. And then also to have MWA and DCR people drive by and say yay or nay. They knew we were placing it, but the exact location wasn't. So yeah. So putting the
Is there,
sign somewhere in here. So as they're walking along, they'll see this interpretive sign, da 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 da, is where we were.
Are we planning to put some sign on the sign? What I mean by sign is that this bench belongs to um, Trails Committee or something like the Southborough because it is, not anybody's property, right?
We have not talked about adding a property sign to it. We could, I mean, I don't know if we need to. This sign, I guess that's one of the things we should talk about is does each of the interpretive signs, at the kiosk, we can have this project was paid for and sponsored by, but do we have that on every interpretive sign? I'm not sure. Like it
I
might
don't think
be,
so.
we might be something we want to say on every sign at the very bottom and say, hey, by the way, thank you, or do we just do that at the trailhead kiosks? I'm not sure what the standard is on that. Do either of you have an opinion on what you'd like to see? And we'll get some authority on it, but for now, just think.
Well, there are there are two crowds or three crowds. One crowd is the Joe person, and I think if they see it once, they're fine. The second crowd are we expecting the people who paid for this to come out, and are they going to be expecting to see that little tab at the bottom that says, who paid for it? And the third crowd is, are we going to take pictures and post pictures of these signs? In which case, the people who paid for it might be much more likely to see it.
Yeah, so we do have to acknowledge those who sponsored it, especially CPC.
Right.
And I have some information on that. They sent some sign specs, so we'll include that in our order, and we'll go over that in a few minutes. But as far as the bench, I don't think the bench needs a sign that says that, right? But we do
Okay.
have an opportunity, to your point, Sati, and we can do this for all the benches over time, is attribute them to a member of the community we want to honor. You oftentimes see that with a lot of benches. We could, instead of honoring people, we could put a meaningful quote or saying, something like that. We could have as well. So yeah, so those are some considerations, but I think we do need to think about um, whether each sign needs to have attribution to the sponsor or if that just takes place at the beginning. I kind of like the idea of having it on each sign because people are going to read different ones. They're going to access it from different points on the trail. And I think if it's a
Yeah.
standalone acknowledgement on each one, I think it's worthwhile
No,
to consider.
I think that's good. And then if we publish any pictures of signs, having the attribution on all the signs will, make it easy for people to know who paid for all this.
Yeah.
I do have one question you're going to hate me for, and that is, do we need to stabilize the soil around the bench so that people in wheelchairs can roll up next to it, or is it sufficient for them to be able to roll up, there on the road
Well,
solely?
I would never hate you for asking that very good question. It is a good question because I didn't think about that consideration necessarily for this specific bench, but I do have to ask a question. If you're in a wheelchair, do you need to sit on the bench?
No,
But
but
you do need to be able to access the sign,
but you also you might be going with a group of people and you want to get closer to them if they're sitting on the bench.
right? So
You know, I guess the real question, there are two questions. One is, would the MWRA or whoever the, you know, the conservation people, whoever it is, would they hate us if we did anything like that? And then
you know, I
second,
don't. Yeah, good.
and then the second question is, um, you know, what's the standard? And the third of my two questions is, how much would it cost?
Yeah, we're gonna get costs, so that's not a problem because we will get a vendor to look at it. But I do think it's the right question, Will, to ask the vendor to say, okay, so we're not gonna put cement. That's not what we're gonna do.
No, but
Right,
just something like small crushed stone or something.
right, but taking out the organic matter like you do when you build a trail and then substituting it with gravel or some sort of substrate that would provide a firmer surface might
Yeah,
be a really good idea. And that would actually help us manage the weeding better.
yeah,
But obviously this is in a watershed area. We want to be really careful with what we're doing. But yeah, let's mark that down as a consideration. And something we should, because in order for them to gain access to the sign, and the sign has to be far enough back off of the road so that it's not interfering with plowing and all those types of things, it is going to need to have like an access point.
right.
Yep. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so let's actually I'm kind of interested. I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute because I do want to see, because we're on the attribution sign thing, what Lisa Braccio had sent us to be prepared for the CPA signed. Hmm. Okay, that's pretty big. All right. That's 2 feet by, it's not too big. Okay, let's see. Let me share this. Okay. So let me know when you see the CPA sign.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the sign that they want us to post at the project. Well, the location, the first sign location will be near the kiosk. The size of this is 2 feet by 8, so it's 24 inches by 18.
Okay.
Um, so we'll have to figure out, is that a standalone?
Is this what they want on the signs, or is this a standalone sign? I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna fit on the kiosk, in that, at that size.
No, not at that size. You're saying 2 feet by 1.5 feet? That's a lot of feet.
2 feet by 1.5 feet, right?
Okay, so they want to approve it before. That's going to be tricky if they need a vote on that, because that timeline is going to have to work with our timeline, and that generally hasn't worked out this year with them. So we'll have to see how that works. If they want a mock-up of the sign, isn't that going to look just like this? They just gave us a mock-up of the sign that's going to look like this. So I'm not quite sure what that means.
Well, maybe, I mean, did they give you the size specification?
Yeah, 24 by 18 PVC.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, maybe they're talking about what kind of post it's going to go on or whatever.
Well, see,
Or
that's
is
the
it going
thing
to
I
be,
explained. I wasn't envisioning a separate posted sign because we want to be considerate of sign pollution, right? So we're putting a kiosk up, and can we have a small sign at the bottom that says, you know, thank you to CPA and to Mass Trails Grant for funding this project. Having a 2 foot by 18 inches sign, that requires, it can't go on the side of the kiosk. It's got to have its own post. So it's going to be this like sign that's just posted out there, like boom.
and
Um,
this is not the tag text you were talking about that would go on every sign. This is a one-off sign.
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So,
Well, maybe one at each end kind of sign. I don't know, but
okay.
right.
Well, now we know. And, okay, so we'll figure that out and we'll figure out where
I
that,
like, I like how it's not centered. I mean, that's very South Bororian, right?
oh, Will, what would we do without you? Okay, so that will go somewhere in this area. And then there'll also be most likely for phase two, when we put the kiosk in this area, we'll have another one of those signs that says that. And see, that's the thing that I'm a little confused about is that the other side, like, I think the size may be dictated by the cost of the project. So phase one is going to use, we're not going to use all the CPA funds. So I could see using a smaller sign there. And then on the
Yeah.
other side where we are using all CPA funds, that would be a bigger sign. Size being kind of, I guess, based on project amount. But so we should expect another sign to go on the other side. Short story. Okay. So we
Okay,
talked
so
about the bench, we talked about the sign going here. And so that just so the first sign is going to be the people sign. We talked about having an East Main Street identifier. That's just going to be a single post with a sign that says, oh, the road was here, a little historical moment. And we were considering also including the schoolhouse across the way, you'll see. So we'll determine if we want one fact or two facts on that one sign. I don't have an example of what that would be yet. I focus mostly on these bigger signs, so we'll do that in short order. And then the next one, if you go along the trail, so the pumping station's up here, and this is where it stops being cement.
somewhat accessible
Yeah,
or
and
acceptable.
it becomes gravel. So this area in here, there's kind of like a wetland area. I've talked a little bit about it before, where that's why I thought the wetland and watershed sign could go. A potential for another bench doesn't have to be there or not. And because it's there's not a lot of viewing areas along this in general. So this, what I was proposing is the bench would overlook that area. So you could, if you were having a quiet moment and on the trail, you would just kind of sit, relax, and you could look out into that wetland area. And that would be probably your highest chance of seeing an interesting bird or something like that. So that's kind of why I thought to place it there.
Now, there's a little kink, after the third thing pointing at the trail. And just,
On the left side.
yeah, there's a little kink that goes off to the left and then, does sort of a thing back to the right. Is that the top of the hill?
Oh, is this, you're talking about this?
Yeah, well, a little bit, yeah, a little bit, yeah. Well, yeah, they're right there where you have your cursor right at the moment. That's the
Okay.
kink.
Yeah.
Is that the sort of the end of where people can comfortably go?
Yes. Yes, that's
Okay.
it. And the pumping station's in here. Yes. So that's that bend, and that's a hill.
The Hill of Doom, right?
Yeah, the Hill of Doom. No. Um, yeah. Yeah. So that's that. Okay, so now I think now we have a bit of an orientation, map that in your mind. And then on the other side, we were the building of the dam would go in the view, so you could view the entire dam, and you only can view the dam when you get closer to it. So it would be somewhere in this vicinity, a place we choose that makes most sense.
We're
No
talking
bench.
about
We're not proposing a bench.
we're talking about sign 3.
Sign 3, yeah. Building of the dam,
Okay.
focus. Okay, so now keep those in your mind as we go through this next. So again, we'll finalize the actual information, but I wanted to get mock-up information so we could get the sign company to give us a design. And so I'm proposing this, and I have an example of a picture, but this is not a final proposal. It's just for us to have something to work with visually, right? So this is a timeline, layers of human history, and how we describe it is something we can come up with. So this is just an example, layers of human history, right? And then the reason it looks weird is because there's a table behind us. Okay. So here's an example of a signage. Again, not approving the graphic, not approving the text, but just a visual, right? And so we would have something here, and our timeline would be something like this. Before, well, it got that wrong. Before the 1600s, Nipmuc homeland. Then you get 1620s to 1670s colonial settlement. Then, well, Southborough was incorporated in 1627, right?
No, 1727.
1727. So this is wrong,
We're
but
coming
that's
up on
fine.
the tricentennial, not the quadricentennial.
Say what? Oh, coming
We're
up on
coming
the
up on the
tricentennial.
tricentennial, 300 years.
Yep. And then the dam construction and the what it is today. So that's kind of, and so some text in here would describe some of the history, and then we would have a timeline. So conceptually, are we comfortable with something like this? And it hits on each of the different types of people who lived on the land, essentially.
Sure.
Okay. So this is a little bit more detail, little bit the text, and so again, I can share it with you, and the sources will confirm and double check. But it talks about the Nipmucs here, colonial information here. Here, this is correct,
How do you spell
1727.
Nipmuc?
What?
How do you spell Nipmuc?
You spell it Nipmuc, M-U-C, but when I spoke with the representative from DCR, she indicated that sometimes they'll spell it with a K.
So IPMUC?
N as in Nancy, IPMUC is what I've oftentimes seen it as, but the DCR representative, who is I think she's the Indigenous People representative, is part of what her title is, indicated that they will sometimes spell it with a K. Did I debrief anybody on that? I forget if we met. I think I met with her after we talked, so I should recap that when we get over this, when the next topic. Okay, so town is settled here, a little bit about that. And then we go into the building of the reservoir. So this is a little bit different. The sign was a little bit simpler. So this has a little bit more. So it says the building of the reservoir 1894 to 1898, talks a little bit about the construction of the dam. The Metropolitan Water Act of 1895 gave the state authority to seize the land for Boston's water supply. Dozens of Southborough families lost their farms and homes. I want to make sure our signage isn't too negatively focused, but sometimes facts are facts and you just don't change it, but it is the way you frame it. So I want to make sure we're not making anyone out to be an enemy. Then building hundreds of immigrant laborers, Irish, Italian, Swedish, Eastern European, built the dam by hand. They dug, hauled, and shaped earth. Many lived and worked near camps nearby. And their labor created one of the largest public works in New England at the time. And today, managed by a DCR and MWA, protects Boston's drinking water, provides open space for recreation and reflection. And the trail follows paths once traveled by Nipmuc families, displaced farmers, and immigrant builders alike. I like that. So, and we would have a QR code so we would just, simple stuff, simple text, simple sentences. And we would have a QR code that references a web page that has a collection of resources where, again, we're not trying to recreate or rewrite history. We're just trying to kind of be a central repository if people are interested.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Okay, and then interpretive sign number 2, we talked about being wetlands, right? So here's an example of a title, From Wetlands to Water Supply, Protecting the Watershed, or Watershed Guardians, Land plus Water equal community well-being. And this image, again, not tied to how it is, but as an example of what it could be, is just, we're trying to represent why watershed, what is a watershed, why are they important, and in this case, in Southborough, it will help reinforce why there are rules and regulations on certain things. So this text goes into, again, we're going to not wordsmith it here, but conceptually, are we, And you see there's a QR code that one would go to. And this image here just shows all the rivers feeding in, how it kind of flows. So again, graphically, we're not going to choose those tonight, but are we conceptually in agreement that this will be a potential for moving forward?
This green picture.
Well, not the picture itself, but this picture is representative of what our sign could look like once we've
Okay.
approved our details.
Okay.
I find it a little easier to view the picture than just to speak conceptually, because we've done a lot of talk around text, but I haven't seen anything, so it's easier for me to kind of, I don't know if it helps you guys visualize. Okay. So then next up, the third sign was about building the dam itself, right? So this is, an example of, again, what it could be. We have some great images from the archives in Massachusetts that we can pull from, that will actually show the building, and we've walked through some of those before in the last meeting. And it was a big engineering feat, and I think that's kind of how we can focus on, at that time. We can talk a little bit. There's a lot of, I found some interesting historical, I could pull it up. Hold on. Yeah, this
Is that a Sudbury Dam or Fay Dam?
those are two interchangeable names. So Sudbury Dam is the Fayetteville Dam, but it's technically called the Sudbury Dam. How is it called here? I'm getting confused. Hold on. Sudbury Dam.
Okay.
Yeah, so I found this document here, which has some really interesting historical information about the dam. And this document is actually an application. It was from 1989. It was the application to have the dam be be part of the historic district, like the National Registry. So this was the application. So it talks about all of the details, which I thought was really interesting. And we can pull from this some of the historical facts. What I'll do is pull together some resources, and I'll share those with all of you. And you can just review them for your own benefit of understanding where some of the information is coming from. Okay, go back. Where is... Why don't I see? Oh, they all look different now. Okay, great. Okay, so conceptually, are we comfortable with something like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so those are the three main signs, and I don't have one of the kiosks, but we've talked about what we want on the kiosk, which is map and some regulatory information. And so that will be fairly straightforward. What I want to do is I'm going to stop sharing because I want to revisit what DCR said about, Leah. Oh, wait.
DCR.
Yeah, but it looks like, here we go. Yeah, so to recommend reaching out to this person. I also recommend purchasing and using this. Oh, interesting. So she referenced, a guide for writing about Indigenous people. So yeah, so she discussed some protocols and things like that. And she also mentioned, so if, for example, we were to reach out, if we were to connect with the tribe, and what we might need to do is, if the timeline's not going to work out where we can work with the tribe on how we represent their information, if we're just providing generic information, they resided, they were here before, and the sign is pretty simple like that, but we want to dig into it and provide a little bit more information, and we can do that on our website. If that takes longer than this December, that's fine. I think we can kind of put it out into, like, that's just the background information. I see your face, Will. The sign will still move forward. We'll still go forward with that. But I'm just saying, like, if it takes us, if we want to really reach out to and connect with the tribe and really have them review the materials that we're presenting. One thing Leah said, so my point is we don't have to cram it in this next 2 months. The website can be a development project and an ongoing project after this signs get installed. Does that make sense? Because it's an evolving thing on our website that we have some flexibility with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so Leah mentioned that if we do request assistance from or review of from the tribe, that it's appropriate to offer an honorarium to pay for their time.
Yep.
So I did reach out just to understand approval of that, and that CPC, like if we were doing it under this phase 1 funding, that would be something we could cover as an expense under CPC. We would just need to set them up as a vendor as we would other vendors and go through that process. So we did confirm that. Okay. So that's that.
Yeah, the reason I was frowning is just I looked up Nipmuc Indian sketches, and most of them are in the context of how European settlers are reacting to them. It's
Oh,
not very flattering,
yeah.
and how they're reacting to the European settlers. So I
Yeah.
think contacting the tribe is a very good and excellent thing to do. And an honorarium sounds very appropriate.
Yeah. So yeah, so we'll see how that works out and how we want to phase that. Yeah, because what I was thinking is just now is there's nothing saying that we have to spend all of the CPC money by 12/31/2020.
Oh, well, that's good.
I mean, it can't go on forever. What I'm saying is that if we wanted to supplement this project with the CPC money, as long as we did it within a short order of finishing this project, then there is potential to expand it to have a full dedicated sign, perhaps, or some resource to the Nipmuc that would allow us to and we could use the extra, a little bit additional of the CPC money that isn't going to get spent, that's allocated for this project. I was just thinking outside of the box to see how we could leverage this connection, this resource, and to really honor the tribe, to really put in place something significant that they would appreciate. But that is going to take a lot of time to kind of figure out, and sort through potentially. So I just want to give us that parallel path in case, as something to think about. Okay, so next steps on that is I'm going to be I will get a sample from the printer, and I need to circulate this weekend to you to review text and do some wordsmithing. So what I'll ask you to do is take a look at what I have put together, and please provide some comments. Really keep, so one thing to know about me that you should if you don't already know, you will now. I think we need to try to keep things very simple and concise, and that's tricky for me because I tend to go a little bit overboard. Maybe I say, or I want to write too much or include too much. I'm too detailed. So if perhaps a complimentary attribute, if you have one, is if it's too weedy, if we're going into too many details, kind of take us out and be a higher level. So if we can keep a lens to ensure that we're, not putting too many words on the sign, that type of thing, because signs are, I think the white space, the plain space, and the way they lay them out are as important as the words you're putting on the signs for people to pay attention to them. And we want these signs to last for a long time, and we want them to be proud of them, and we want them to be good signs. So I'll stop and let you ponder that.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah. So you can expect something from me over the weekend, and and then at the same time I'll be working with the printer, and then hopefully by the next meeting we'll have the sign. We can call the text mostly done. We'll need Tom's input, so I'll get him on the email, but don't reply to all because that's deliberation. So just reply to me, and then we'll meet and finalize it together.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's enough about that. So phase two. So the bid, few things. One is the bid is with Melanie and Mark, and they are adding to the last piece of contract information that the terms and conditions that need to go in there. That we need to get a what's called a prevailing wage from the state. And so I asked if Melanie needed some assistance. This was before town meeting to get that done. And she said, yes. So I need to order that, and those prevailing wages go into the document. So once that is done, that document should be complete and be ready to go through the posting process. And CPC wants to see an example. They want to see the bid as well. So I'll send it to Lisa and to Freddie for them to review, just to make sure it says what it's supposed to say, as far as, not deviating from the project scope. And then it should get posted. So I don't have a date for that yet, but we should have. I would hope that we could go through the process next week, but it does depend on Melanie and the group where they are. Okay, so then we go to bid, and hopefully we get a bidder, and it'll be fun. Okay, yoga on the trails recap, that has now concluded. So we had approved, you may recall, one more trail, yoga on the trail, which was this last Saturday, the 25th. And unfortunately, there was a bit of a snafu with Eventbrite. So Eventbrite is the registration software we've been using. And when I originally set it up, it's a start date and an end date. And so we had added another ticket, another date for October 25th, but the end date of the event wasn't pushed out to include the date of the ticket. So the event ended, right? And so people had already registered for the 25th, but no new people could register, right? So I tried, and so I tried to contact Eventbrite. It was a 3-day ordeal. They have no customer service available that helped. And so I sent tickets in, I phoned in multiple times, and they assured me they would be able to help because it just took it took them to change the back end. But that we never were successful at doing that. So Emma was aware. So basically what we did was we sent an invite. She was telling people just, come along and don't worry about registering. So that was how the last one went, which is, so it's not the best. But we learned through that lesson. And so it was successful. The entire yoga series was successful. On Eventbrite, before it was, at the end, by the time it ended, I think we had in total 195. That doesn't include that last session. That doesn't include everybody on the last session. So 195 attendees, people who have registered. It doesn't mean they all showed up. But that's pretty successful for, I forget how many. We started in July and August, September, and October. So that was a really well attended program, and that has gained momentum from last year. So go Emma. She's really a great promoter of her services. And I think they did something with the kids earlier this week. I don't know if you saw it, like some spooky yoga. So maybe dress up and show up for yoga for kids. It was fun. I mean, I didn't go, but I saw them. Thought it was cute.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was good. So now we'll process her invoice. Let's see if it's here yet. Yeah. Yep, so one for 300 and 225. So that makes sense. Yep. Okay. And we had good weather for most of them, which is very unusual. We didn't have to cancel. Last year, I think it was wet a lot, so we had to cancel a lot. Any thoughts or questions on that?
Nope.
Oh, while I'm thinking of it, I was telling while we were waiting for you, Will, to come in, excuse me. We we planted grass after we moved all that wood into the shed. I went out, grabbed seed, and we planted it next to the shed to help cover up the area where the 2 pallets were sitting. And and for a week I went out and watered it, and then it rained, so then it could establish itself. And I drove by a couple times, and I will share. And I'm excited to say we are growing grass. So it's kind of hard to see in the picture because of the leaves, but if you look closely, you can see in the first picture there's a little bit of new grass, but in the second picture there's a lot more new grass, so it's coming in nicely. And you can barely tell that there was anything there, so that was what I was hoping for. So yay for grass. Okay. Next up is, and we're almost done, is National Grid. Did I talk about that project last time that they're doing they're replacing their lines along Southborough, and it's going to overlap on the trail a bit?
Which lines are they replacing?
From
The
Ward
electricity?
Road all the way down to Bay Circuit Trail, Nichols and Clemens. So all through the power lines that run through Southborough, they are going to be. And there's an open house, so that's the whole point of this. And we may want to go if you're available Thursday, November 6th. So that's next Thursday, at 6 to 7:30. I'll send this over to you. They're having an open house. Well, let me just share it as we speak.
That would be in the evening.
Yeah, it's in the evening. If you want to go, I'm happy to swing by and we can carpool if you want. But it's at the public safety building, and so they're not going to do a formal presentation. They're just going to have open house, so you can go ask questions about what's happening. I'm going to show you this picture. Can you see this okay? I'll zoom in. Let me see if I can see it. Oh, oops, yep. Go away. There we go. Okay. So on the far left, this is Ward Road area. That's 495, and this is Ward Road, right? So then it essentially goes along the entire Sudbury Reservoir Trail. Okay.
Okay, are they going to be putting in new poles?
Yes.
See, that's a real sensitive thing because sometimes they say, hey, putting it right smack dab in this walkway here or this trail or this sidewalk, that would be really easy, and they do that. I mean,
Right.
there are
Well,
plenty of examples in Southborough where they've done that.
yeah, so I mean, so far we've had a great experience with them. They have a group, an outreach group that is working with the public to answer questions, make sure our butters are notified. They're doing door-to-door notices and stuff. So they're trying to be very mindful about this. So maybe past experience informs future experience. And but as you can see, I met with them last week and with Sudbury Valley trustees because they're also impacted to talk about what it means, because they're going to be starting some of the work in February, and they have to lay timber mats. So if, for example, I'm going to zoom in again. It's not a great picture because it's not, but along the Sudbury Reservoir here, like they'll lay timber mats so their big trucks can drive over the trails and do what they have to do. And that helps protect the land. But during this time, there could be sections of trail that are closed. It depends on the type of work they're doing and for how long it just also depends, right? So, and the way he described it is, sometimes they'll be pulling wires through and that could, if they might be working in this section, but they don't want people walking underneath the wires over here because they're pulling the wires through. So there may be longer, sections that are closed for a bit of time. They will try, and this is why I think it is important if we can go to the info session to get more information and talk to them about it. But they could try in certain areas that maybe that they'll just put cautionary work in progress signs so that people will walk around. We talked about ensuring that, when you lay those mats and you kill the grass, there's got to be a restoration of the area after they leave. And they're obviously going to be working with Conservation Commission on all the requirements on that. Um, we need to be aware as the Trails Committee because we are boots on the ground and need to help inform people of when there are trail closures. We may have some signage that go up and stuff like that. So it's a big project and I don't know exactly how long. It could be a year, right? So it's going to impact the trails and we just need to understand how. The other thing is, and I did confirm this because, I'm going to move the cursor now and go over to the Peninsula Trail. We are putting signage on this side and here. So this sign that we're installing here, as long as we're in by December, we should be fine because they're going to be starting work and whatnot in February or maybe even groundwork before that. And I don't know how much of this will be closed or open, but as you can see, the work that they're going to be doing, they will need to access the access road, but they might not necessarily need to close the access road because the work is up here, right? So they might just need to share the road.
Now, are they putting in the really high voltage lines? I guess
Yeah, I
they are.
can't answer those questions. I'm just not the tech on the job.
Well, the one thing that grabs my attention is between the two causeways, right? So the causeway of 85 and the causeway of Breakneck Hill Road or whatever, right? Along in that area, they seem to be going through portions that are not currently don't have any line in them.
When you say 85, this is 85
Yeah,
here.
right. Yeah, right. So if you look to the right there of 85, where your cursor is, right there,
Yeah.
right? It looks like they're getting a lot closer to the reservoir than they currently are.
Well, that
But maybe I'm
line
wrong.
obviously is representative of where it's going to be, but they're not moving anything. They're just replacing existing. So if that line looks too close to the reservoir, then it's just the way
Okay.
the line is drawn on
So
this.
they're just
They're not
replacing
moving
existing.
it closer.
So they won't be cutting down trees or anything like that.
No, there may be some brush maintenance that has to get done to give them access. If some of these poles along the reservoir, where I'm thinking of is along Fayetteville Athletic Field, right? There may be, I'm
Right.
thinking those poles are kind of close and aren't, yeah, some of that, because I remember a woodpecker pecking and making the loudest sound ever um, in that area. And I think it was standing in brush. So they may have to do some cuttings, but they're working with DCR and MWA to ensure that those regulations are followed in the right way.
Would it make sense for us to take pictures along the trails, not along their route, but along our trails, right?
Condition of
Uh,
ground, yes.
yeah, before they start all of this, because they might be driving things over our trails and not necessarily leave them in the same condition.
Right, and they were very open to that. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I just discovered, I remember they did a project back in the day on Ward Road, and the trail condition after they drove out those large trucks through left large, craters in the ground. And I remember sharing it with someone and saying, just so you know, this is the condition of the ground. But over time, obviously grass has grown and stuff like that. So these, and I shared our perspective and the Trails Committee perspective. These are heavily used trails there, and some of them along the open channel near Beals Preserve are beautiful. So they're going to really want to be careful about making sure that restoration is taken care of and those trails are put back. So yes, Will, I think that's a good idea that we take before and after pictures, just to ensure that, you know, things are followed up with. But we, so yeah, I think we should, is anybody available to go to the session?
Yeah, I'll go. This would be on November 6th.
Yeah, November 6th. And I was actually going to suggest a meeting for that day. So, I don't know if, what time did I say this was? La,
You
la,
said
la, la.
6:30. I don't know if that's correct.
Oh, 6 to 7:30. Perfect. Would you mind, Will? Like if we went, we could go early and still
Yeah,
have,
no, that'd be great. That'd be
oh,
great.
great. And Sati, if you want to join us, I'd love to have you.
I don't know. I mean, I might have another session meeting. I don't know what time. Let me check.
But you know, Sati, if you go, then we're quorumed again, right?
No, yeah, that's okay if you don't make, actually, the bigger question is, would you be available at 7:30 for a real meeting?
Let me check.
Yeah, can
What
you
would be
check
what would be the agenda for that meeting?
signage, period.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
we're trying to move quick and get it wrapped up.
Okay.
Let me check.
Thank you. All right, let me put this in my phone, National Grid. All right. Okay, and then the other thing to be aware of, so I brought up in our last meeting or meeting in two, but I also asked, I've talked to them twice about it and we'll talk to them again. I asked them and he remembered, which I appreciated, that remember the trail that we were just talking about, Will, where it does the pumping station is over here, right? And then it turns into a gravel road. So I asked
Yeah.
if National Grid would be open to considering an improvement as part of their restoration in improving that grading of that gravel road because it gets very muddy and mucky in the spring and other seasons, and it's just hard to walk around for people. And what it would do by improving the grade and quality of the road, it would allow for more trail users and those with mobility issues that are able to make it beyond the point of the
Right.
pavement would have a better experience. So it would technically open up the trail to more trail users. And they were
Yes, I
to hear
and
it.
that I remember that section of trail. It's near this weird swamp that's up on a hill, but
Yeah. That weird
uh,
swamp, I think, is the wetlands I was referring to putting the bench in.
there must be a spring there or something. That's all I can say.
Yeah, so no, there's no guarantee there, but you know, I think we should continue to advocate for that. I think it would be a wonderful opportunity to get some improvements in that area and it would improve
Sure.
the trail. Okay. Okie doke.
So
Um,
6th is not possible.
oh, 7:30. How is 7:30?
Not possible.
Oh, not possible. Oh, how about Wednesday? Or how are you?
Wednesdays.
Wait a minute, Will, that's the first Wednesday of,
I'm well. That's when the Rotary Club meets until 8. I could do something after 8:30, I guess.
nah.
So the 5th is not good for me.
Yeah, no, it's not. Okay. What is November 4th? Is that,
Um,
do we have town elections on November 4th?
November 4th.
I don't think we do. What would we be electing at this
Well, it
particular
says
point?
I've got election day on my calendar. It's just a default.
But that's the default, yeah.
I think that's a default. Yeah. I
Yeah,
had it on mine and I couldn't figure out what it was.
And November 4th is fine. No, yeah.
does it work for November 4th work for you, Will?
Um, hold on
Seven-
just a minute.
7:30.
Let me check here. Um, well, I was going to go to the community needs assessment from 6:30 to 8:30.
Oh, that's what
It's
Marguerite sent around. What is that?
well, it's the South Carolina Youth and Family Services conducted a um,
All right.
uh, whatever the thing where they ask people their opinions thing
Survey. Yeah.
survey, as to what South Row needs more of. And the reason I was going there was a professional reason, because, being the co-president of Rotary, I probably should go listen to that so that we can,
Oh, are you president
I'm co-president with
now? Oh,
Joyce.
Oh, nice.
So, no, yeah, I'd need to go to that on the 4th. I just, I need to understand what the survey results are so that we can start thinking about maybe some other community events, right? So we have the food trucks, now we have the Oktoberfest, but we're probably going to have some winter skating. But any other ideas that we can pick up would
Where do
be.
you winter skate?
The winter skating would probably be at St. Mark's. They've got a very
Oh, yeah.
nice.
Yeah, we do that
hockey
when it's
rink.
free skate. We do free ice skate day week. They do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's something the Rotary would probably be um, hosting. So
All right. Sati, let me ask you this. How would you feel? Because we need to move at a pretty good clip, and it doesn't look like next week is going to work for folks. Monday's too early. Would you be okay if we could get quorum with Tom if we met next Thursday to finalize things
Yeah, sure.
without, and I don't
Yeah,
want to, yeah. I think it'll be to finalize things, but if there's any there's still opportunity to weigh in, so you're not closing the door to opinions. All right, let me just send this off because I want to see if I can nail it down. Okay, great. Am I still sharing a screen? No. Perfect. Okay, so that's that. So I'm gonna pick you up, Will, for Thursday.
mhm.
Sati. Yeah. Okay. So what was that?
we should definitely see if we can get Timothy Lit there.
At the National Grid one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That'd be fun.
Okay.
That'll make it into a spectator sport.
Okay. I'll leave that to you. Okay. And then for trail mowing, I owe not Tim, sorry. Travis he was going to work with DPW and talk about the mowing contract to see if we need to pull that back in our budget so we can figure out what our budget's going to be. So I'm working with Travis on that. I'm just going to get him a map to show him what we have had mowed traditionally. So I would I'll let you know and follow up on that.
Hmm.
Okay, so then that's it for that. We'll get an update shortly, and that will influence our next year's budget. And then anything else before the committee? Okay, I appreciate your time tonight. Again, I'll be sending that information. I will look for your review of it. And yeah, so if there's nothing else, can we, before we go, I guess, temporarily hold next Thursday after, at 7:30, for our meeting, a remote meeting? So Sati won't be able to go, but I've reached out to Tom. If Tom can make it, then let's make it a go.
This would be on November 6th.
November 6th, yeah. So that will be a busy night for you, Will. You'll have 4 meetings back to back, Tuesday, Wednesday, and 2 on Thursday. You keep an active social calendar.
Mm.
Yeah. It's many people have begged me not to be social, but I can't stop myself.
You can put me in that camp. Just kidding. Okay, thank you all. So does someone want to make a motion to adjourn at 8:44?
I move that Sati will make such a motion.
All right, does someone want to second the motion?
I second.
Thank you. And all in favor, Satyendra Sharma?
Yes.
Will Warren,
Yes.
and Kat McKee. Yes, great. Thank you all. And we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.